In this video, I want to share with you my 3-step plan to building my long-form content agency to $50,000 a month in 2025. If you care by any chance, I'm a 19-year-old entrepreneur running an agency and documenting my entire journey here, so hopefully it helps someone out there. Let's get into it. The first out of the 3 things I'm going to focus on the most is my education. Throughout the entire 2024, which was, by the way, a very important year for me in my life, I did a lot of things, traveled to a bunch of places, but most importantly, I met a lot of people. At first, I was just connecting and meeting with people online through my Instagram, but as I invested into my first coach and my first mentor, I went to the first in-person event, first in-person mastermind ever, which was, by the way, in Zermatt, Switzerland. It was an amazing experience. We went skiing, had a lot of fun, did some training for business, but most importantly, I met a lot of great people that I'm good with and I'm very close friends with even today. And a lot of those people I met were at the time, and some of them even now, making a lot more money than me. And because I met them in person, like I talked to them, I spent time with them, I realized that none of them are smarter than me in any realm. The only difference between me and between them and why are they able to do what I'm not able to do is because they have different skills, and even the things that we know and the same skills that we have, they know and understand them on a deeper level. Essentially, the only difference between me and them are the skills we possess. They were focused on different things in their business. They were having different problems in their business, and different things were happening to them in their business compared to my business. Let me give you a quick example. As we were on the mastermind and my mentor was giving us a big presentation, and at the end of the presentation we had the Q&A and everyone could ask whatever questions they want. And I realized how different people were asking different types of questions. For example, person running a $50,000 a month business were asking questions like, how do I hire properly and how do I lead my team better? Whereas person that's running a $10,000 a month business were asking questions like, how do I improve my ads and how do I make better content and better marketing and how do I improve my client acquisition process overall? Generally, different things and different problems were happening to different people. The main reason that was happening was because we had different levels of skill set. For example, I had a certain level of skills that allows me to make this amount of money, and someone else has more skills, better skills, more useful skills that allows him to make more money than me. But the main difference between both of us is simply that he has more skills that he developed over time, over experience, and over investing in his education longer and more than me. And when I took a step back and looked at even my personal life, I realized that that answer, that realization was all this time literally in front of my eyes, but I never paid any attention to it. Because if I look at my personal experience, it took me a completely different level of skill set to make first $1,000 online. Then it took me a completely different level of skills to make first $10,000 online. Then it took me a completely different level of skill set to make $10,000 a month online every single month. And following a simple example, I know that it will take me a completely different level of skills that I have right now to get to the point where I'm able to make $50,000 every single month. And that's the main reason why one of the most important things I'm going to focus on is my education and developing my skills. Now, the question from that is, how am I going to do that? How am I going to focus on acquiring skills and on my education? Well, I'm going to do it the same way that I've been doing it all this time. First thing I do every single time I want to learn a new skill and I want to hit another goal is I detach myself from the outcome. Because if we just think about it logically, we can never control the outcome. We can never control what happens in the end. The only thing we can control is what we do. So I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. So if we have a certain goal, I'm going to break it down into steps, into actionable steps that I need to take in order to get to that goal. And then the goal becomes taking those steps. So the goal is no longer the actual outcome and the actual goal, but the goal becomes the steps that I need to take in order to get to that goal. That way, I literally emotionally remove myself from the outcome so that in the end, if for some reason I don't get the outcome, I'm not disappointed and think that my life is a failure, but I know that I just need to do these steps, and if I do them, that's all that I can do in order to get to that outcome. Now, someone who's paying attention to what I'm talking about here will have a question. Okay, that makes sense, but how do I know what are the steps I need to take to get to the next level if I never been to that next level I'm trying to get there right now? And that is the answer. If you've never been to that next level, there are other people, there's someone else who have been to that next level who can tell you what you need to do in order to get there. And that's what I'm doing. I heavily invest into my education and into a mentor and into getting myself around other people who are where I want to go and who were where I am right now, so they can literally tell me what are the steps I need to take in order to get from point A to point B. And that is one of the most important things I do. I invest in myself, in my education, and having a deck of skills that no one can take away from me that I can use for whatever business I start. I don't invest in meme coins, Trump coin, any other similar bullshit. I just invest in myself, my knowledge, and my skills. Second thing out of three I'm gonna focus on the most this year is my personal brand. The biggest eye-opening experience on why do I wanna put a lot of my focus into building my brand this year is the fact that I've already had my personal brand so far. To expand on that a bit, I wanna list just a couple of things that I can do just because I have my personal brand. I can show up anywhere and any person can see me online or in person and look at me differently because they have a certain amount of respect because they can see what I've achieved, what I've done, what I've shared with other people, because I simply have an undeniable stack of proof of what I did and what I achieved. Because of my personal brand, I can show up to a mastermind full of people who I've never met personally before, and they're gonna be like, oh, this is the guy with sick content. And that happened, by the way, I'm not making this up, that literally happened. And it's a completely different picture when you show up someplace to the people that you've never met before, and they already have some sort of image towards you. They know, oh, this is the guy with a certain achievement, and it's a completely different picture when they think that, and when they think, well, who the fuck is this guy? I've never seen him before in my life. Because of my personal brand, I can pretty much DM any of the big people, some of them are even in my followers list, and I can easily get in contact, make a relationship, or even do business with them in the end. Because of my personal brand, I got reached out by a guy who saw my content, liked it, ended up being a client for my agency, and that guy is, by the way, in contact with the big guys. Like, I'm talking names like Russell Brunson, Ali Abdaal, and those guys literally follow him on Instagram, which means that I'm literally one person away from all those big guys. And I know that if I stick to my personal brand, to building it and keep leveraging it, I can achieve much bigger and much greater things than this because it's simply proven to work. And one key factor that clearly tells me that I need to go all in on my personal brand is simply the fact that when someone comes up to me and starts questioning, is it worth to build a personal brand? I'm just not that guy, I don't like that. Like, is it worth recording myself, showing myself on camera, and building a brand in general? I literally do not know how and why is that even a question. It's literally like you're willing to go someplace and you can go by walking there and you can go by a car. And you asking me, well, can I walk there? Well, technically, yes, you can walk there, but I don't understand why would you do it. I chose to go with a car and I will choose to go with a car every single time. And while I'm gonna get there in a couple of hours, I'm gonna wait for you to get to the same place for 7 days by walking. So I do not understand why is that even a question. For me, it was never a question whether or not should I do it. I just knew what I want to do, and I realized that this is the easiest and the best and the most effective path to get there, and I'm simply gonna take that path. So don't ask me whether or not is it worth it to build a brand, because I do not understand what's the basis and why are you even asking that question in the first place. Now, how exactly am I gonna focus on building my brand and doing it in general? One of the most important things is I'm gonna build my brand, and I'm currently doing it, I'm just gonna continue to do it, build my brand around my beliefs, around my experiences, and around my values, and I'm not gonna follow the trends. I build it, my personal brand, around myself is the whole point of it. Not around an industry, a niche, a skill, a trend. Build it around myself. I don't care about views or going viral. I only care about attracting the right attention and the right people to my personal brand. I see a lot of people who literally do anything and completely degrade and demolish their brand just to get more views, just to get that next viral video, because they just follow every single trend. And I think it's a bit tragic. Like, at least how I look at it, the main point of my personal brand is to build my business from it, is for it to help me build my business, which is gonna leave great impact on other people. It's not to get billions of views. Also, one of the things that I'm currently working on is I want to differentiate myself from everyone in my industry, everyone in my space. Or in other words, I want to create content that only I can create and no one else. And how do I do that? I simply create content when I'm gonna talk and share my personal experiences, my personal beliefs, my personal values, and the lessons I learned from the things that I personally did, just like this video you're watching right now. Because in the last 3 to 5 months, I saw that like 95% of people or something like that in my space are just copy pasting my content, my words and what I'm saying. And I don't want my brand ever to be associated to that people ever. So I'm gonna keep focusing on creating the content that only I can create, simply said. Talking about business, talking about my personal experiences, talking about lessons that I've learned from running my businesses, talking about my relationship with God, and some of the personal stuff, like talking about where I want to go, where I don't want to go. Some of you who are watching this might already know that I don't like going to big cities. I much more enjoy spending my time in nature. I go to mountains a lot. I enjoy that. And just talking about that type of stuff that I want other people to associate with me and my brand. I document and share my honest business experience. I don't record technical tutorials that are going to be outdated in 3 months. One of the key principles that I live by and that I create this content by is first do and then talk. So first do stuff and then talk about the stuff that you did. Now the third out of 3 things I'm going to focus on the most in 2025 is my relationship with God. We as people in general, as soon as we start making a bit more money than other people, it's very easy for us to start thinking that we're so wise and we know it all and we're so experienced right now and start giving all the advice. But it's very easy, and a lot of people tend to forget to be grateful that they even got there. They forget that it is God who helped them millions of times along their entire journey to even get there. There's even a verse in the Bible that I'm going to read right now, Deuteronomy 8:18, but remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. And so far, I realized that the main purpose of my business is not to make as much money as possible. It's not to just give me the freedom so I can chill by the beach and not take it too seriously. But the main purpose of my business is to serve other God's children, to serve other people. That's the main point of my business. So once I realized that, I stopped building my business and I started working in God's business and fulfilling His mission. I literally realized on my personal example that performance of my business is directly correlated to my relationship with God. Now, how am I gonna do and what are the things I'm gonna do to develop my relationship with God in 2025? I'm gonna be the living example and show everyone around me how to act properly by acting that way myself. In my life, there's a lot of people, I would say, around me that are doing some of the stuff that I would not like them to do. And I will just never ask someone to do something that I'm not currently doing myself, or to not do something, to ignore and sacrifice, let's say, something that I'm not currently not doing and sacrificing. Another thing I'm going to do that I'm currently doing and I will continue doing is studying the God's message, studying the God's word or the Bible. I'm gonna go and look for all the answers on all the questions I have in the only credible source where you can look for the answers, the Bible itself. And those were my 3 most important things that I'm gonna focus on the most in 2025 in order to get to that goal of building a successful agency to a mark of $50,000 per month, which is not even an important metric and measure. The only thing we care about is what are the skills we're gonna acquire to get there. But those are 3 most important things that I'm gonna focus on. If you like this video, feel free to check out this one, some pretty valuable stuff I put out here on YouTube. And if it's God's will, I'll see you in the next one.